Edward George Earl Lytton Bulwer Lytton, 1st Baron Lytton P.C., May 25, 1803, January 18, 1873, was an English novelist, poet, playwright, and politician. He was immensely popular with the reading public and wrote a stream of best-selling novels which earned him a considerable fortune. He coined the phrases "the great unwashed," "pursuit of the almighty dollar," "the pen is mightier than the sword," "dweller on the threshold," as well as the well-known opening line "it was a dark and stormy night." Bulwer Lytton was born on May 25, 1803 to General William Earl Bulwer of Haydon Hall and Woodalling, Norfolk, and Elizabeth Barbara Lytton, daughter of Richard Warburton Lytton of Knebworth, Hertfordshire. He had two elder brothers, William Earl Lytton Bulwer, 1799–1877, and Henry, 1801–1872, later Lord Dowling and Bulwer. When Edward was 4, his father died and his mother moved to London. He was a delicate, neurotic child and was discontented at a number of boarding schools. But he was precocious, and Mr. Wallington at Baling encouraged him to publish, at the age of 15, an immature work, Ishmael and Other Poems. In 1822 he entered Trinity College, Cambridge, where he met John Aldjo, but shortly afterwards moved to Trinity Hall. In 1825 he won the Chancellor's Gold Medal for English verse. In the following year he took his B.A. degree and printed, for private circulation, a small volume of poems, Weeds and Wildflowers. He purchased a commission in the army, but sold it without serving. In August 1827, against his mother's wishes, he married Rosina Doyle Wheeler, 1802–1882, a famous Irish beauty. When they married, his mother withdrew his allowance and he was forced to work for a living. They had 2 children, Lady Emily Elizabeth Bulwer Lytton, 1828–1848, and Edward Robert Lytton Bulwer Lytton, 1st Earl of Lytton, 1831–1891. who became Governor-General and Viceroy of British India, 1876–1880. His writing and political work strained their marriage while his infidelity embittered Rosina. In 1833 they separated acrimoniously, and in 1836 the separation became legal. 3 years later, Rosina published Shively, or The Man of Honor, 1839. A near libelous fiction bitterly satirizing her husband's alleged hypocrisy. In June 1858, when her husband was standing as parliamentary candidate for Hertfordshire, she indignantly denounced him at the hustings. He retaliated by threatening her publishers, withholding her allowance, and denying access to the children. Finally he had her committed to a mental asylum. But, after a public outcry, she was released a few weeks later. This incident was chronicled in her memoir, A Blighted Life, 1880. For years she continued her attacks upon her husband's character. The death of Bulwer Lytton's mother in 1843 greatly saddened him. His own exhaustion of toil and study had been completed by great anxiety and grief. And by about the January of 1844, I was thoroughly shattered. In his mother's room, Bulwer Lytton had inscribed above the mantelpiece a request that future generations preserve the room as his beloved mother had used it. It remains essentially unchanged to this day. On February 20, 1844, in accordance with his mother's will, he changed his surname from Bulwer to Bulwer Lytton and assumed the arms of Lytton by royal license. His widowed mother had done the same in 1811. But, his brothers remained plain Bulwer. By chance he encountered a copy of Captain Claridge's work on the water cure, as practiced by Presnitz, at Gray-Effenberg, and making allowances for certain exaggerations therein, pondered the option of traveling to Greifenberg, but preferred to find something closer to home, with access to his own doctors in case of failure. I who scarcely lived through a day without leech or potion. After reading a pamphlet by Dr. James Wilson, who operated a hydropathic establishment with James Manby Gully at Malvern, he stayed there for some 9 or 10 weeks, after which he continued the system some 7 weeks longer under Dr. Weiss, at Petersham, then again at Dr. Schmidt's magnificent hydropathic establishment at Boppard, at the former Marienburg convent at Boppard, after developing a cold and fever upon his return home. When King Otto of Greece abdicated in 1862, he was offered the crown of Greece, which he declined. In 1866 Bulwer Lytton was raised to the peerage as Baron Lytton. The English Rosicrucian Society, founded in 1867 by Robert Wentworth Little, claimed Bulwer Lytton as their grand patron, but he wrote to the society complaining that he was extremely surprised by their use of the title, as he had never sanctioned such. Nevertheless, a number of esoteric groups have continued to claim Bulwer Lytton as their own, chiefly because some of his writings, such as the 1842 book Zanoni, have included Rosicrucian and other esoteric notions. According to the Fulham Football Club, he once resided in the original Craven Cottage, today the site of their stadium. Bulwer Lytton had long suffered with a disease of the ear, and for the last 2 or 3 years of his life he lived in Torquay nursing his health. Following an operation to cure deafness, an abscess formed in his ear and burst. He endured intense pain for a week and died at 2 a.m. on January 18, 1873, just short of his 70th birthday. The cause of death was not clear, but it was thought that the infection had affected his brain and caused a fit. Rosina outlived him by 9 years. Against his wishes, Bulwer Lytton was honored with a burial in Westminster Abbey. His unfinished History Athens, Its Rise and Fall was published posthumously.